Good morning. I'm Rosemary Pena, Adjunct Professor of German Studies at UBC Vancouver and President of the Black German Heritage and Research Association. Dr. Emily Fraser Rath and I, along with our students at Davidson College, welcome you once again to our class entitled Black Germans, Art and Resistance. Today's conversation is the 12th in the BGHRA's All Black Lives Matter series, and the 8th hosted in collaboration with Davidson College. Today we welcome as our featured guest a dear friend and colleague, Dr. Jamele Watkins, who is a member of both the BGHRA Advisory Board and our newly established Black Transnational Adoption Consortium. We are immensely grateful to Davidson College for allowing these important conversations to take place. Each of these carefully curated discussions are in their own way making important contributions to discourses within and beyond academia. The recordings emanating from them are invaluable additions to the BGHRA Institute's flourishing archive. Today's conversation promises to be no exception. So now I'll invite my co-teacher at Davidson and the executive director of the BGHRA Institute to formally acknowledge our sponsors, share a little about our class, and introduce our special guest. Emily?
Thank you, Rosemary. We are so excited to be able to invite Dr. Jamele Watkins to our class, to Davidson College, and to the BGHRA today. Today is November 4th, 2021. And we, Dr. Pena, me, and most importantly, our incredible 8 Davidson students, 7 today, are in the 11th week of our German 231 class entitled Black German Art and Resistance. As I've mentioned at the beginning of all of our conversations with our guests this semester, Dr. Pena and I co-teach this class together. The class consists of 3 parts. It is first a survey course in the field of Black German studies. Second, it is a community-based learning course as we support the BGHRA through our work, and will feature our final projects on the BGHRA archive. And it is, most importantly, an opportunity for students and, through these recordings, our broader BGHRA and Davidson communities to speak with people whose lives and work intersect with, influence, shape, and inform Black German studies. We'd like to thank the Dean Rusk International Studies Program Speakers Fund for helping to sponsor today's event. In particular, I would like to thank former Dean Rusk Program Director Jane Zimmerman and the former Dean Rusk Program Administrator Sheila Reeves for their support, as well as Verna Case, the Interim Director of the Dean Rusk Program, for her continued support. I want to thank the Department of German Studies Administrator, Meg Swicky, as well as Jennifer Joyce and Susan Caldwell, who work behind the scenes here at Davidson doing all of the logistical work, and whose patience with me I greatly appreciate. Finally, Rosemary and I would like to thank our students in Black German Art and Resistance for all of your thoughtful questions, your curiosity, and your hard work this semester. So thank you, Denai, Katie, Kari, Garrett, Gavin, Pat, Raphael, and Stephen. Before we turn things over to Dr. Watkins and our students, I'd like to formally welcome and introduce Jamele to our class. Dr. Jamele Watkins earned her PhD in German Studies from the University of Massachusetts Amherst in 2017. Her dissertation is entitled The Drama of Race, Contemporary Afro-German Literature, theater, oh my gosh, and it was the first dissertation-length investigation of Afro-German theater. Dr. Watkins' work has appeared in the Women in German Yearbook, now called the Journal of Feminist German Studies, and the open access journal, Open Cultural Studies. Her chapter, entitled Performing Oppression and Empowerment in Real Life Deutschland, which appeared in the edited volume, Rethinking Black German Studies, Approaches, Interventions, and Histories, edited by Tiffany Florville and Vanessa Plumley in 2018, has, just for example, been influential in my own thinking about the possibilities of activism and performance. In general, Dr. Watkins' work appears at the intersections of Black and African diaspora studies, performance studies, and of course, German studies. For today's conversation, we have read Dr. Watkins' forthcoming chapter, Afro-Locken, Natural Hair in German Literature and Media, which will appear in the volume, How to Make the Body, Difference, Identity, and Embodiment. We've also watched and listened to several songs by Black German hip hop artists, do you say SX16? Yeah, and Nora, in hopes that Dr. Watkins can help us unpack and better understand these contributions to hip hop and to Black German art and resistance. So thank you very much, Dr. Jamele Watkins, for joining us today, and I'll turn it over to you and to our students.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you, as always, Rosemary, for continuing to collaborate with me, and Emily, thank you also for having me in your class. And I'm glad all of you woke up this morning to join me and talk about, these things that I'm interested in and things that I'm working on. As Emily said, or as you know, I wanted to share with you my work on 16 and Nura through their hip hop interventions and thinking about race and playfulness around race and stereotyping, and kind of thinking about that trajectory and thinking about awkwardness and thinking about this very tongue-in-cheek style that I think they have a lot of fun with. And I shared the Afro-Locken piece because I've been really interested in thinking about hair myself, having gone through my own hair journey, and just also interested in what was happening in Germany because I didn't have access to products there. And so I was thinking about, what does this look like? And I kept getting little pieces of it as I was, reading and doing other things, like reading, for example, Hans Massaquoy's autobiography, like his, talking about hair, or just hearing this, desire for the straight blonde hair. And then later on, of course, learning about more contemporary moments where hair care is kind of discussed and celebrated, and natural hair, like the way it grows out of people's heads naturally, can be beautiful, and that people can embrace it, because that hasn't been the case. And so and even actually more, it's so hard with articles because you send them at a certain time and then so much more happens when you work on contemporary objects. And so there's actually even been a few exhibitions called was it Girls with Curls that have been traveling around, which has been a lot of fun to watch. They also came out, I think, with a magazine kind of just showing women with their natural hair. And there have been a few other, YouTuber kind of developments. Krauselaka has been also still very active, which you read about in the piece. But yeah, I thought that was also a fun way to see how resistance plays into contemporary German society. So one way through music, and another way through hair care. So in one way we have, artists, like, famous musicians doing it. And on the other hand, you have like an everyday person, participating in resistance. And so I'm eager to hear what you all thought and what you have to say. Sorry, I'm a little sick. But I would love to hear what you're thinking about it, because these are actually both, as Emily said, both works in progress. They are will revise and resubmit. So I would love the opportunity to to gain knowledge from you too.
Thank you for talking with us today. I'm Danai, I'm from Greece, and I just wanted to ask how the transition felt for you, because I read in the article that all your relatives had chemically straight hair, and then after, it's one thing to take the decision, but it's another thing to actually get in that procedure. So did you feel like you were finding more yourself? Did you feel like you were changing? Like, did it impact you at all? Or was it like a natural, like a change that you felt had to come?
Well, it definitely had to come because I had gone to, some salons that were just using just way too much heat on my hair. And so it was, when you put heat on any type of hair, it just gets too brittle. So it was like, it needed to happen no matter what they thought. But it's funny actually, because now so my mom has dreadlocks, and I was like, not expecting that from her at all, because she had, very long, relaxed hair, like waist length, and now she has dreadlocks. So, we're all on our hair journeys, but yeah, some of my family members even comment. My extended family members will say, I can't believe you cut off all of that hair. It just became my identity, and I didn't like that. And actually, I just got to cut again. I don't have time to play around with it. But yeah, it definitely is a process of coming into myself and rejecting, the idea that one thing represents the totality of my identity.
Garrett, go for it.
Oh, you muted up.
This is kind of like a basic question, but what kind of emotions did you go through when you first transitioned to natural hair? And like, did it feel relieving to you, or did it feel like could you walk us through like a little bit of the feelings and emotions that you personally felt?
Yeah, let me try to think back. I felt good and happy, and I had it was shorter, even like shorter than this, and I thought it was a great cut, and my hairstylist styled it really well. And so, yeah, I felt really confident. I felt really, pumped. Just, normally how you feel after going to the hairdresser, when your, fade is like lined up, and you're like, oh, yeah, you just feel, you feel more confident, And so I was definitely riding that. And it was nice to, like just try to imagine something else, for me, and too, like there's so much around women and women's hair where it's like length is also beauty, right? And so it felt good just to, kind of reject that and just say, hey,
Thank you.
I have a question about this line in the article that we read by you that was about I have it written down. It's Black Germans, even in their attempts to conform, can't accommodate white norms of beauty and citizenship, and so are excluded from both. And that line just particularly really stuck with me. And I don't know if this is really a question or just kind of like more of a in your research, like how you, I mean, not how you encountered that, but kind of just like what you've learned from that idea specifically, I guess, or, how you researched that.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I found through, either personal narratives or through film and media or YouTube, kind of this exclusionary factor. And hair seems to be the big part of that, which I found really fascinating, because you would think it would be just skin, but that isn't the case, you know, that I was running across. And so kind of like this exclusion based on hair to me was just so fascinating, or what other Black Germans were recounting, you know, themselves, and kind of seeing, oh, but my hair makes me not belong to this nation state, was something I found really, really fascinating. And that's also, again, why I wanted to continue to explore it. But yeah, like I said, the Hans Massaquoi, the, you know, Theodore so Marie Nayar, those are you know, Third Reich examples, but also even more contemporary, you know, kind of examples where we see hair being the thing to highlight difference instead. And I think too, you know, connecting to 16, Nura has extensions and the bright colored hair, you know, to draw attention, you know, to, and that playfulness with hair as well. So
I was wondering how like media and hip hop culture. I'm thinking about influencer culture in the United States, but I don't know if that's, you know, similar in Germany. But how that has impacted, you know, the exclusionary factors of natural hair in Germany specifically.
yeah, so yeah, influencer culture in the United States is so interesting to me. Um, so in Germany, and this is the thing, so I can't speak, right, for how people are feeling about it there. I can only witness from, you know, here what I see. And I think you could call like the Krauselacke group influencers, but, and you know, look at engagement stats and all that kind of stuff. And I've emailed with Esther Dancourt, and you know, she was very responsive, which is also great. But in terms of like people, and see, this is the thing, I don't even know these people's names. I just know their faces, you know. But the American, is it a Charlie something, or what's the, I don't know their names. Anyway, you know, these famous influencers. I don't know if that same exact thing exists in Germany. The YouTubers that I have found that are famous in Germany, we have a lot of makeup YouTubers, and like comedy, what do you call it? Not slapstick, but joke, prank. Those YouTubers are so big. So, but that's not to say that the influencer thing hasn't exist, but I don't think it would exist to the scale that it does here. And I mean, even in England, a lot of the influencer culture comes from reality show, and then they kind of get their, you know, their platform and, you know, blow up. So, yeah, so that's my answer is I don't know, but those are some influences that I know about, and I don't think it exists to the same scale.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about your conception of Blackness in this article. So, you know, that Blackness is under siege, really, and always at the center of critique of, you know, racialized belonging in Germany and citizenship, of course, and all of that. And I'm trying to find the space. As Blackness, so you use Patricia Hill Collins. Collins illustrates the ways in which society fashioned white hair or white skin, hair, and thin bodies as the norm, and Blackness as antithetical to the standard. And I'm just wondering if you could, unwrap that a little bit more, what you mean by Blackness, and also what role does hair play in that?
Yeah, so I found, for the article, I did use a lot of African American theorists because they had discussed the play between culture and hair. And finding those sources in Germany was very difficult. And I saw a lot of similarities, right? These stereotypes and things permeate borders. And so when looking at Patricia Hill Collins, who's, very well-known Black feminist theorist, and her description of these white standards of beauty, same, I'm also thinking of bell hooks in that as well, and how media makes it impossible for a Black woman to be able to meet that standard. Like the standard, it is white, like even what's normal, right? The shampoo bottles, this is good for normal hair. What does that mean? So that if the beauty standard is a white thin, we can't forget about fat phobia, super important in this discussion as well. White thin woman, then anything else is going to miss that mark. And so when I'm thinking about Blackness, in that, I'm thinking about, hair texture, skin, features as well that aren't considered beautiful because they are not in this white standard of beauty. So, for example, now, like, bigger lips are very popular and in, but they weren't when I was growing up, so that's just one example too of how, that has changed because of white influencer culture, and how now that is a procedure that people, pay for. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about Blackness in that way, and how it is set up to really fail, because again, if you have the model, then you have to have the antithesis, right? It's not the only, but it's one of many, I think,
Yeah, it just occurs to me how, Blackness is really the physicality of it here is exactly sort of the point. And sort of when you're thinking about the nation state, then, as a homogenous sort of group of people in some weird way, then the actual look or appearance, right, is the thing that is being contested here by the very presence and existence of Black bodies and brown bodies and disabled bodies, and
right,
in general. Yeah,
right, exactly. Yeah, because it's like, obviously, there are all kinds of people who live in the United States. Like there's, many different thoughts and ideas and many different types of people, but if you go and ask someone, about an American and like what they think an American is, it's more often than not going to be white. In Germany, I had people were always very confused that I was American. They did not think I was American. And it was like, well, what about your parents? What about, I was like, do you not know the history of the United States? Like, it's like, my ancestors were enslaved. Did you read about that in school? Okay. So, there's this, despite the fact that there are all kinds of different people here in the US, there is this, capitalism, in media, right? Magazines, they are trying to sell you a look, a feeling, like there is a goal to meet, there is a weight to be at, there is a thing to buy for this season. Fuck capitalism. Anyway, okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
End rant.
Don't end rant. No. All right. Who else has questions about the article or about the music videos and music?
Hi, Raphael. I just wanted, thanks for being here, by the way. I just wanted to sort of ask about the role of YouTube and like the media and your journey to transitioning to natural hair, and like how that was a resource for you. Because we all use YouTube nowadays, and it really is a way for you to like connect with certain areas of your life that you maybe can't connect with based on where you are, or your identity in your case.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I started following a few YouTubers about just the products that they were using, like before I transitioned, like a good while before I made the transition, to see, yeah, what was their hair routine, like what products were they using? Because they're going to be different, because, my hair would be different. And so, how do I even care for this type of hair now? I don't even know. And I didn't have anyone I could ask in my family. At the time, of course now my sister is natural and my mother is natural, but it was really great to be able to watch these videos, make things at home myself, and not necessarily have to buy things. This is back when I had time. Unfortunately, I do not have time anymore, but it was cool, to like make my own hair gel, or to, make my own moisturizing cream. It's like, oh, this is so fun. And then I feel like I'm tailoring it. I feel like it is something special for myself. And in terms of community, I didn't really get beyond, watching on YouTube, and then also, maybe following on Instagram. I didn't really connect more in the comments with people, though. I found myself more talking to people I knew who were natural in at the time in grad school. So like if I knew, oh, this person has natural hair, let me say, let me talk to them about something, it kind of spurred that conversation, which hadn't happened yet, So, yeah.
Jamela, I have a question.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask what role you think the generational differences play in the choice to wear natural hair. I remember I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and afros were a political statement. I think that there are times when history repeats itself and certain styles become political statements once again. And then there is also the element of choice and ease. So I guess in any of those,
I hear that.
I'm interested in trends, because I can vacillate back and forth these days. My hair is natural, but I know that takes me much longer and is much more difficult to wear it curly than for me to wear it like this. So I'd like to know, what it is about the politics of hair, the transitions over generations, and what statements do you think are being made today that have changed, or are they the same as they were in the 60s and 70s?
Yeah, that's really interesting too. And I'm glad that you brought up the, kind of like historical element to that. Yeah, the 60s and 70s, of course, the Afro, was this symbol, it was a big rejection. of, white main culture, to summarize that. And then also on the other hand, for a lot of white people, the longer hair was that same rejection, so we have it playing out differently in two different hair types. And so modern day, I think, so I want to say, let me just speak for myself. My mom started relaxing my hair at a very young age, very young. And I didn't know that there could be another way. And so it gave me the chance to, again, make that choice for myself. And it had been becoming more popular. We see also more actors wearing, natural hair or just curly hair. We see it more in the media as well. And I think that has helped. And again, with the, again, these YouTubers. And so many people now too have hairlines. Gabrielle Union, Tracy Ellis Ross, Natural 85, which is who I use. And I'm trying to think, I think there is one more really famous actress with the hairline. But all that to say, the accessibility makes it easier. So, and seeing more people wear hair curly is also a big factor in it too. There is, though, of course, something to be said for ease and comfort and, the time that you have, because that's real, so I hear that.
I have one more question, kind of coming from what Dr. Peña asked. So if it's someone in our generation and they're having second thoughts of doing this transition and they do want to do it, but because of, I don't know, maybe they're in an environment like the college or university, like that's not a common thing to see, or they're having second thoughts for other reasons, like what would you tell them? Would you advise them something specific? Like, was there something that was holding you maybe back before you did it, and then you were like, why did I think that was stupid? You know what I mean? Like, if you had second thoughts, and then what would you say to someone our age who'd have second thoughts doing this transition?
I think I would say you should do whatever you want to do. And that I did have to do a lot of experimenting because obviously with my hair, I, had it for whatever. I can't remember if I was in my 20s or 30s anyway, but, I had a system and I knew the products that worked. I knew, what to do with it. Like there was no guesswork. But now, with curlier hair, it's like, okay, I have to figure out what products work, I'm trying to think of any products right now at Target, but like, the Aussie Moist isn't gonna cut it, anymore, like that little purple, like that's not gonna do it. So what's a better product for my hair? So there's a lot of experimentation, which takes a lot of time. So I would say be patient and find what works for you. And it's like a discovery, and it's not about making my hair do something it doesn't want to do, which is also sucks because it's like I have a plan and I want to do this, like with this style, I want it to look like on YouTube, right? Going back to, to Raphael, I want it to look like that YouTuber's Bantu nuts. Why don't mine look like that? But it's like you have to just embrace, where it's at.
I wonder if you could speak a little to the co-optation of or appropriation of Black hairstyle, particularly dreadlocks, right? When it for white people.
Yeah, even Adele, right? Recently, I don't know if you all saw that. Did you see Adele in where was she? In Jamaica with her Bantu knots. You can Google that right now if you haven't seen it. Yeah, that is a big problem. And again, going back to even I don't know, like shape or lip, right? We talked about lip size as well. And how things can only be consumable or acceptable when and if a white person does it. And like even Kim Kardashian and everything, but especially most recently with her the braids, right? So
You want sis? Because it's a pass.
sorry, she's having a hard time. But it is the hatred, or I guess what is most grating about it is, considering that something is not cool or unique or beautiful until a white celebrity does it. Like that, and that's what's killer. And then too, like renaming it, right? It's like Bo Derek braids. No, that's not it. And so it completely erases the history of Bantu knots, which didn't originate here. You know what I mean? So dreadlocks too in particular are a whole other thing. And to like signifier, and I would also recommend you all to check out. There's been some great research on that. I can't remember anything off the top of my head right now, but and I wish I remembered who said this, but the scholar said, white people can have the dreadlocks, but then can cut them off and be back or be still or be and there is a way in which two dreadlocks are used to signify this countercultural coolness. Again, I don't, I'm trying to maybe bohemian, using that word very kind of life and lifestyle, which is also super problematic. But yes, and like I'm even thinking of one YouTuber who had dreadlocks and cut them off, and he was big in the shake curl community. I can't remember his name. Anyway, but then he shaved it off, and then right, he could go about his day, right? So it's considered dirty, right? But that's also a lack of knowledge, right? People don't understand how it works, and like that's not a hairstyle is not dirty, but kind of there's a and I think that goes back to the larger scheme of things is around hair is a lack of knowledge.
I was wondering if you could talk about how German hip hop artists like 16 or use their hair to portray a certain message, and how successful it is, and
Yeah, so Nura does wear a lot of extensions, which is very I would say traditional, typical, a popular hairstyle. in Black communities, plural. And she often uses a lot of color, which is very in style now the past 5 years, I would say, using, different colors in extensions. I myself had extensions with color, it's a fun and easy way to experiment with color when often color doesn't, it's hard to color your hair if it's darker, so it makes it fun and easy. And in terms of other hip hop artists in Germany, it's tricky because the other female artists I know aren't Black, now that I think about it, or have really stopped rapping, contemporarily. And I see rappers, like Lady Betray, like Suki, like, these other female rappers play more with appearance, and maybe like in music videos play around there, and not necessarily through their hair, or we'll have different hairstyles, but not with maybe color in that way. But yeah, Lady Betray does play a lot with her hair, but I would say more so with her costumes. Oh, and Lady Betray's work is not safe for work, just PS. If you're in the library, just don't watch in the library. Garrett's like, oh. I'm just joking.
So what is 16 all about? And Nora, can you tell us a little bit about, just generally, when does she come about? What's going on here?
Yeah, so they got together, and see, this is also where things get a little contested. According to Nora, they were friends. According to Lady Betray, they were put together by some, like a boy band style, I don't know. I wasn't there. This is what I've heard. Their songs, as you probably saw, are very, like, they have this carefree attitude, this kind of like IDAF attitude, which is fun, and I don't know that their music resonates a lot with older generations. I know Suki and Lady Betray have both criticized 16, like saying that they weren't feminist, saying that they weren't, that men were using them, and I think it is largely because they are a different generation, going back to Rosemary's point earlier, it is just a different generation, and not everything is for everybody. And so in my article, that's, really too, what I was trying to say is that, some people need this, and that I could imagine, and I don't know if this is true, but I could imagine a Black German singing this in the club and being happy, and so having a variety of options, variety of songs, a variety of mediums, I think gives people the opportunity to like what they like and not have to like this because it's like, oh, let me go support this, this person here. Okay. Like they don't have to do it. They do it because they like it, and I think that that's really important. And I'm really happy to see, and there should be more, right? There should be more songs, more, and I think I said this in the article too. In like 2016, there were 3 different songs that came out that were all titled Ich bin schwarz, you know, and they're all for very different types of people, you know. One guy, he's I'm gonna say a comedy prank YouTuber. I wish I could remember his name. I cannot remember it off the top of my head. And then I think Layla Akini wrote the other song, Ich bin schwarz. And then we have the 16 version. The 16 version and the, oh, I can't remember the guy's name. What was his name? Did I say it in the article? I totally am blanking on it. But he and 16 use similar methods of, you know, portraying the stereotype and laughing about it. Also, like, you know, going back to Maya Yim, who also, right, portrays the stereotype and, you know, gives people a chance to see it and encounter it, you know. And Nora now, you know, like I said, they broke up, and the 16 broke up, and Nora is on her own, and so she has this new song, Niemals Stress mit Bullen, where she talks, you know, very politically, you know, not like the other song isn't political, but she talks about Uri Yellow's death. I'm not sure if you got to that yet in class. Okay, so he was someone who was murdered in jail. I want kind of like Sandra Bland, but it's different. But just to give you an idea, and her or that song is about, you know, of course I get stressed, or of course, you know, police, you know, make me nervous, you know, but I see that as part of her also like growing, and kind of seeing that also helps me see this song has a song in which she knew what she was doing, or a song that she, you know, has these I don't know, as this consciousness, you know, that it's not just something cute, hee hee, you know, but something that is impactful and meaningful, and that she's trying to make larger connections through. So because of where she is gone, like she also could have chosen not to. She could have chosen to be like, you know, whatever, but to continue to bring up, you know, issues that are important in important for Black people in Germany. And Uri Yellow is one of a huge issue that a lot of Black Germans are still advocating about. Yeah, shows me that there's more thought there than maybe first meets the eye. Because right, she's in a tanning bed, and it's ridiculous, right? You know, again, going back to Emily, your point about appropriation. You know, it's like, oh, the desire to be darker but not too dark, right? You know.
All right. So we watched Ich bin schwarz on Tuesday in class, and we were grappling with it and not sure where to go with it. And so, you know, you mentioning the fact that she's singing in a tanning bed, right? Like this idea of sort of controlling your like your shade, right? But also, you know, what that means, right? But also this playing with stereotypes throughout the whole thing. The toilet scene gave us a lot to sort of mull over, as well as obviously the use of chicken throughout the whole thing, and watermelon. And then one thing that came up for I can't remember who mentioned it, but the jersey that the white guy is wearing, right?
Yeah.
This sort of nod to national like soccer, but also like he's dancing awkward, and it's like in this really weird space. So I don't know if you all want to share more of your thoughts and questions about it, because I certainly have a lot. Stephen, I know that you you were also sort of unsure. Oh, I don't know. So
Hold on.
anyone else?
Oh wait, I'm sorry. One of my roommates is like, he has like a test that needs to be printed out and he's asking me to print it.
Oh,
Like he's like really freaking out.
it's fine. I mean, that's what Zoom in our rooms does to us, right? Like,
Yeah.
Emily, why don't you start? Oh, never mind. Sorry. I was gonna say, Emily, you should start, but is it Carrie?
It's Kari.
Corey, I'm sorry.
I was wondering if it was me who brought up the jersey, and I want to talk about that, and about the kind of, we were talking in class about how it's like maybe an ode to the only form of like not the only form, but like the main form of national pride in Germany and
Yes.
nationalism as a key, but just
Mhm.
want ideas about it.
Yeah. It is one of the exceptional forms for Germans to be proud, right? Where, of course, right, I'm sure you've talked about, there's not like German flags waving around or whatever, except during soccer, right? The VM, AM, right? So yeah, him showing up to the door, or answering the door in the soccer uniform and with the stars, like we can like place kind of the year in that way. I think it is his own name on the back of the jersey, which also tells you he got it customized. Wow, there's also a menorah in the window, which is very interesting too. So it kind of places someone has also Jewish. We're not sure if they're both Jewish or what is happening, but that adds a really interesting element that I'm also still trying to like work through in my revisions about, considering how how they're encountering this guest.
Well, our time has come to a close, sadly, but many, many thanks to Dr. Watkins for taking the time this morning to be in conversation with us. Thank you always to Dr. Emily Fraser Rath, our sponsors at Davidson College, and our amazing students. Please stop by our website at bghra.org and follow us on Eventbrite, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to learn more about forthcoming events in our All Black Lives Matter series. On November 17th, we invite you to join us in screening the documentary film Becoming Black with director Enos Johnson Spain in attendance. For more information about this event, go to tinyurl.com, Becoming Black. Our YouTube channel hosts recordings from all of the earlier episodes in this series and from our 4 international conferences. Mark your calendar for February 17th to the 20th, 2022, when we will host the 5th BGHRA conference virtually in partnership with Africana Studies at Rutgers University, Camden. We hope that you've been as enriched by today's conversation as we have, and we look forward to welcoming you again. Until next time, we wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, we thank you for your time and attention.